Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at a quote from Cenat from a recent stream that has kind of gone viral online. It's kind of, I think, part of this like more noticeable trend recently where people, I think, are getting a lot more comfortable with like disrespecting PewDiePie and like kind of slandering his legacy. Now, Cenat was somewhat respectful about it in my opinion. I mean, he just voiced his own personal opinion here, but I figured this was something I wanted to talk about because outside of just Cenat, this is more of a like very recent trend I've noticed on social media where people are like trying to downplay PewDiePie, like the importance that he had on YouTube and just content creation in general, internet culture, all kinds of different things, right? It really seems like people are kind of trying to rewrite social media history here. It's very weird. I've been doing YouTube for 13 years now. Well, it'll be 13 years next month, actually. And there's never been a time in that period where like PewDiePie wasn't massive, wasn't this huge influence, right? So I kind of have like a pretty knowledgeable past on this kind of thing, right? I've been on this platform for quite some time. Obviously, a lot of the people I think who are saying this, I think are younger. I think that's what a lot of it comes down to. I think a lot of these people are just younger or they didn't watch YouTube in its prime, shit like that, right? And as a result, they really just don't get it. Or also, I think a lot of it is people kind of only know, some of these people at least only really know PewDiePie from the infamous like N-word clip and shit like that. So I think a lot of people have this like misconception on what PewDiePie is, how important he really was, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and play the clip from Cenat that has, like I said, gone viral, but after that, we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video.
This may be an L take, and I apologize in advance. But I couldn't see how niggas got into PewDiePie. I'm sorry.
Nah, I agree. I feel like I didn't watch him. When I looked into him,
I'll be honest. That might be an L take though. You feel me?
It be like that sometimes, but everybody's not for everybody because some niggas might say that about you.
Not facts.
It be like that.
Not for me personally though. I don't know.
All right, so like I said, I thought it was somewhat polite. I mean, there's a lot worse he could have said. He could have came on here like, man, fuck PewDiePie. He sucks. His content's garbage. I hate that guy. He didn't do any of that, right? But people kind of took this as disrespectful because it's kind of like questioning the validity of like, oh, I don't know how people watched PewDiePie. I never got into him, whatever, right? I mean, it is his own personal opinion. Not everybody grew up watching PewDiePie, obviously. But like I said, in like 2024, I noticed it a lot. But now I'm starting to notice it way more. Right? People don't really respect PewDiePie anymore. And I think some of it is also now because he uploads a lot more sporadically, so he's not the like powerhouse influence that he once was. But at the same time, I think it's kind of just ignorant and ridiculous to downplay what kind of impact that he had and why he was so popular. So to a lot of people, myself included, I think PewDiePie represents the golden age of YouTube, which is something that we haven't lived in for a long time here. I mean, to me, the golden age of YouTube was from inception to about 2015, 2016. That was when YouTube was at its best. I think the content was at its best. The people on the platform was at its best. The company itself was at its best. Things were just way different back then, right? And for people like PewDiePie, they kind of paved the way for everybody else, Cenat included here, right? Now, Cenat has gotten famous from streaming himself playing video games and shit like that. And of course, that's kind of always existed to a certain extent, except for like the first few years, obviously, of the internet and shit like that. But PewDiePie really kind of just opened the floodgates for gaming content all over the internet. Now, there were people who were popular before him in gaming and shit, but PewDiePie like was so big, he was on fucking South Park and stuff like that, right? There's pretty much no equal to PewDiePie when it comes to YouTube, any of this other shit. And honestly, the same thing could probably be said about Cenat here, and even in the video, they acknowledge that, right? How could anyone watch Cenat? I couldn't get into him. I don't know. I can't get into his streams, right? It kind of just comes off a little bit dismissive, and I think that's why people took such a big issue with it. But I just think that this whole like idea of acting like, oh, I don't know why people got into PewDiePie is kind of just crazy. Now, obviously, PewDiePie's personality is just better than most content creators. A lot of people, they only really gave a fuck about content creation ever because of money. But PewDiePie, you know, he grinded from the bottom all the way to the top in an era of YouTube where money was not the primary focus. And I think that's what's lost on a lot of like content creation and shit like that today. Back in the day, it was about building your audience and like building building your channel up and hitting milestones. You know, you wanted to have 1 million subscribers or 100,000 or whatever, right? You always had a goal in mind, and it wasn't inherently money. And so PewDiePie, you know, in an era of people who were like wading into gaming for the first time, he was high energy. He was playing also games that were popular, but were popular because of the internet. You know what I mean? He was bringing games like Happy Wheels and shit like that to the forefront. Like, these were games that had cult followings or were like indie games, shit like that, right? And he was bringing them to a new audience. So people watching PewDiePie and people like him, you were going there not just because, you know, PewDiePie was cool and you liked him, but because he was also bringing new games up. You know, he was bringing new shit, and he was bringing new games that you would want to go play, right? Like, I played Happy Wheels before I saw PewDiePie playing it, but games like Quap, that little like keyboard game and shit like that, he helped like get Minecraft off the ground at certain points and shit too, right? Like, a lot of these games that have kind of became like infamous online over time, right? A lot of that came from people like PewDiePie. PewDiePie was one of the original promoters for games like this, getting games out there to a new audience and shit. And because of people like him, gaming became the face of YouTube. Before that, it was like vlogging, filming yourself, shit outside, home movies, things like that. YouTube poops, internet memes. It was more like that kind of shit. But gaming was a little bit more niche at that time, right? You had to like really seek that kind of shit out. And PewDiePie really kind of made it to where, since he was the new biggest creator on the platform, gaming was finally kind of on top. And really, it's never left since. I mean, most of us, when we get on YouTube and places like Twitch and shit, the whole point of it is to go watch people playing video games. And I would make the argument a lot of that shit wouldn't exist to the degree that it does if PewDiePie didn't popularize it. Well, not only that, not only did he popularize like gaming on YouTube and shit like that, he inspired a lot of creators to come to the platform and start making content. I would also argue that most YouTubers who started YouTube after like 2013, 2014 were probably doing it a little bit inspired off of PewDiePie himself. And then of course, going into like the late 2010s and whatnot, we started seeing the whole like PewDiePie versus T-Series thing, where it was essentially like this whole YouTube-wide, platform-wide war between PewDiePie, who was seen as like the individual who ran his own YouTube channel and shit, versus the corporatized T-Series, which was a like more foreign Indian influence, and they were posting like music videos and shit. It was like corporate stuff. So PewDiePie has over time become like the face of YouTube. Nowadays, a lot of people would think it's MrBeast. Pretty hard to really argue that in a lot of ways, considering he overtook PewDiePie a long time ago in sub count. But a lot of this shit online, including like my content, right? It wouldn't exist in the way that it does without someone like PewDiePie. And like I said, over the last couple of months, I think it's a lot of it due to that whole like racism N-word clip thing. A lot of people love re-bringing that whole thing up and shit like that. I think people just think that like it's okay to shit on PewDiePie now, and it's like something that everybody does. But I don't know, man. I still feel like the vast majority of people like PewDiePie. Like, he still uploads, albeit pretty sporadically and whatnot, because he's like semi-retired or whatever now. But I mean, even then, it's like very few people can carry as much influence as he did for even like a month or 2 months or whatever. But he's done it for well over a decade. And even today, being semi-retired or whatever, he's still massively influential. Like, if he wanted to, he could come back to uploading every day and could still be killing this shit. But he has a family now. He has other priorities and shit, so he's not worried about it. I get that. I think everyone gets that. But I think now with his absence, you know, with his void, people are like trying to rewrite shit and trying to make it out like, oh, you know, we never fucked with PewDiePie. I don't know, man. I could not disagree more with that. Now, even MrBeast responded to this entire like clip or whatever, and I mean, he said it, I think, pretty best here, right? So, Take, he fundamentally shaped YouTube culture. I miss meme review and loved watching him play random games while I ate dinner every night. Poods is a goat. Now, I mean, like I said, he said it pretty much best there. There really would be no modern YouTube without somebody like PewDiePie. It's crazy to think a company actually owes this one guy who wasn't even really affiliated with them so much respect or whatever, but I mean, the entire internet, in a way, was influenced by PewDiePie. Like, the meme review, the gaming content, all this shit that he, like, pioneered and, like, really kind of brought to the forefront. That stuff would be radically different if it even existed, really, in the way that it does today. Now, I mean, even with MrBeast, like I said, most would call him, like, the GOAT of YouTube, or, like, at least the biggest guy on YouTube right now. Even he is willing to bow head and admit, like, yeah, PewDiePie really shaped everything. I mean, even like the modern day king of YouTube admits his main influence is PewDiePie, right? Like, he fundamentally shaped YouTube culture. I don't know. Some people were like really mad about this clip and like were mad at Cenat and they thought it was like super disrespectful. I think it's a little disrespectful because he like basically insinuated there's no reason to watch PewDiePie. I don't know how anyone could get into him or whatever, but I really don't think it was that bad. It was a lot more respectful than it could have been, but I do think it was just a ridiculous take here. And it's one that could apply to him too. I mean, let's be real. There's plenty of people out there who would be like, oh, I don't know how people watch Cenat. All he does is yell. All he does is stream for 13-year-olds. It's the same shit you could say about anybody, right? The difference is, though, PewDiePie is literally one of the internet legends. So I don't know, man. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on this one. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, paying some respect to PewDiePie for everything he did for YouTube, man, and signing out.